to the fourth day of week 3 of this UCAN ULLL Open Fora, which we are devoting to digital learning in continuing education, the aftermath of COVID-19. I'm Pascal Pachout from the Formation Continue UNIL EPFL, which is the continuing education foundation of the University of Lausanne, and EPFL, which shares the same campus on the shore of Lake Geneva in Switzerland. We don't have much time to introduce each other, so you may want to add the name of your city before or after your name on Zoom. You can do that through clicking the 3 dots on your picture, or alternatively, you go to participant and you click and you can add your city to your name. You can write your questions in the chat or raise your electronic or even real hand, as we are not that many participants. I suggest a really very short warm-up exercise. If you can please switch on your cameras for a second. And at the moment, yeah, I'll give you 2 seconds to switch on your cameras. This is just so that we can see who is here. And I think for you, it's the same as us. We are working mostly from home these days. But for example, today I'm in the office just to make sure that I have an excellent connection, not to take any risks. So I wanted to ask you, where are you working from today? If you are working from home, can you raise your hand? Okay, it's about, I guess, half the people. If you are working from your office, okay, so about a third, I would say. Are you in a hotel or somewhere else? And my last question is, are you attending the seminar from a car? Because the other day, we had someone who was attending the seminar on the iPhone in the car. So I was maybe a little bit dangerous. So this week we've been learning about learning and sharing about how we are all weathering the COVID-19 storm and preparing as much as we can for life after the storm. That is, all university continuing education may be impacted by the crisis, the type of programs we will offer in the future, the format of these programs, also some financial questions. Do not forget that tomorrow we'll have a panel discussion where we will have the presenters of the whole week coming back. They were very nice to accept that. And then we will address your questions and also discuss what can be concrete steps for you and your institutions drawing on the learning of the week. But for today, I'm very pleased to welcome our presenters and to introduce them. I'll start with Alfredo SOEIRO. So with Alfredo, he's done so many things in the field of continuing education that at some point I thought it would be easier to say what he has not done rather than all the things that he has done. But I'll still give you a few information. Alfredo has got degrees from University of Porto and PhD from the University of Florida. He has been academic director and vice president of civil engineering at the University of Porto. He was a pro-rector of the University of Porto. He is a founder of UCAN. He's been a vice president of UCAN. He's also been involved in the RECLA, the Network of Continuing Education in Latin America, and obviously the Association of the Portuguese Universities. And he's been awarded a medal from the University of Sorbonne, and he's also a member of the International Hall of Fame of Adult and Continuing Education. So thank you very much, Alfredo, for being here today. Ahidoba will co-present with him. Ahidoba de FRANCHI is head of quality at the Center for Continuing continuing and distance education at the University of Geneva. She has a background in sociology and statistics. She's been active in university continuing education for 20 years. She's in charge of quality in Geneva, and where she accompanies the development of the quality culture within the programs, as well as the different certification and accreditation procedures. Welcome and thank you, Ahidoba. So Alfredo and Ahidoba, the virtual floor is yours for your presentation.
So good morning, everyone. I think that we agreed, me and Ahidoba, that we will share this presentation. It's like a duet. I'll start, and with the slides, we will also share our opinions about what's written in the slides. And I think that we can start sharing. We propose this title for this presentation. I think that this digitalization of our lives is very relevant, and will have a very strong impact on the lifelong learning issues, and we thought that we could present our opinions and what we think are our challenges. Next slide, please. So this point by the European Commission, this is a transcription of the European Commission document about lifelong learning. And in fact, although it's a wish, I think that the digital component will make it much easier and feasible due to the capacities of digital learning and lifelong learning. So that's why we think that it's very important that we address the online teaching in this context of the pandemic, and the need to consider the challenges, and for some it will be opportunities. Personally, I've been involved with distance education about the same time I started working with ULLL. I worked with the Eden and ICDE for many years, as many years as ULLL. Although I think I have devoted much more time to ULLL in this aspect of lifelong learning. But so I'm a little bit, how do I say, inside what was the history of distance education, and believe me, I was not expecting something like this would happen so soon and so quick, so effective. Although I was expecting to happen somehow, and in a time that it was not possible to deduct. But in fact, the virus has transformed this this situation, and we are really experiencing, in a, let's say, in a forced manner. We are having this experience of having to use digital tools in our teaching and training. This progress has also been exceptional. There are things that you can do now in a with digital tools that 5 years ago they were just dreams, but now it's possible. I remember seeing in Helsinki at that time it was Helsinki University of Technology, now it's the Aalto University, of seeing 10 years ago these glasses, experimental project that they had, where they could wear the glasses and look at a person. The face of the person would be recognized. Of course, they have a database at the university and for the experiment, and they would have projected in these glasses all the information or most of the information about the person you were talking with. And I thought, wow, this is never going to happen. Now you can do it. I mean, this is incredible. You can do it. You do it in the construction area. You do it in the simulation areas. You have these digital glasses that can create virtual reality or augmented reality. And it's incredible, the progress in digital tools. Of course, the pandemic, we are all being affected. So there was this quick transition from face-to-face to the online environment. Some teachers, or most of the teachers, from my point of view, were not prepared. But it is a fact that we all had to do it, forced in a certain manner by the situation, by the administration of the university, and by other aspects. And of course, I've spoken already about the digitalization of life, the Internet of Things. And again, there are challenges that we're going to present, me and Ahidoba. And I think some of them can be opportunities. So we can progress in terms of the quality of the lifelong learning we will be able to produce in the future. So next slide, please. Okay, so the first challenge or the first opportunity, we all have to be open-minded. What it was, it's probably not going to be right now or in the future. So we have to be flexible to accept the new demands and the new situations. I think that this can be used in all kinds of education and training. Of course, lifelong learning is most of the times training, but it is also education and leisure. So we have to be open-minded on how to use the digital tools in these environments. I think that most of the learning with the digital tools are not going to address complete programs, but they will be modular that you can assembly like a building block. Of course, there must be rewarding. I have here, but this has already been addressed by UCAN in some projects. But I have here from Eden. Can you show the site, please? This is, for instance, from Eden. This is just an example on how we can use this question of the open badges. You can assemble the open badges and put them on your e-portfolio. The Europass that we know is now transformed into e-portfolio. You can use this for your portfolio and show your competencies with these badges. And this has become more and more, not only for personal, for company, for university lives, this has become more and more common, and it will probably be the future. Now, the question is, who's going to accredit this? Who's going to accredit the competencies? And I congratulate UCAN for the projects it has done in the past and right now, because that is probably a major role for universities where we all belong, is to probably accredit these badges. Let me tell you a story. Sometimes I speak too much, so let me look at the clock so I don't exceed my time. But the question, once I was in a group in IACE, another organization where I have worked, and the director of the professional development of the University of Stanford, Andy Di Paolo, arrived. We were having breakfast, and he said, all my courses for lifelong learning are online for free. And we all were looking at him and saying, well, is he crazy or what? It was his principal, what he was earning money from. And we all explained, well, how did you do? What is your business model? And the business model is Stanford. If you want to get accreditation for the competencies you acquire from your courses online, you have to go to Stanford and ask for a certificate, and then you have to pay. You have to make an exam and you have to pay. That is the business model. And probably that will be happening to a lot of universities. We will probably be accrediting these badges and all these competencies online. Can we have the next slide, please? Or the same slide, but try to complete what I was saying. Now, this digitalization and the pandemic and the situation, you have people from very different backgrounds that have experience online and others never did it. They are not familiar with the online training. We have diverse types of people, adults that have basic education with adults that have sophisticated education. And for addressing these needs, you have to have an open mind. You cannot do the same thing as you used to do before. And of course, the question of inclusion, not only people with difficulty in access in terms of the digital tools, but also the people that are not comfortable with using the online tools. For instance, people that cannot see or they cannot hear very well, or they are not capable of understanding some of the instructions. Can I have the next slide, please? And I will switch in the third slide to Ahidoba. She hasn't gone away, so she'll do the third slide. Of course, we have to be universal. Like I said, we have to comprise very different situations and scenarios. And this universality of the use of the digital tools also will help the production. So I did that in the past with several universities, use the courses from other universities, but I think that will be more common. I don't think that all universities will produce everything. We have MOOCs around and we can use them. We have MOOCs, we have open education resources, and we can avoid the question of production, which is most of the times costly and timely. And use more sharing and more cooperation. I think that's how we can answer the needs. We have to cooperate, and I think this seminar today or webinar is probably based on this intent to share and to cooperate among those involved. The MOOCs, as you know, it was something that, from my point of view, was a travesty for the old open and distance learning or distance education. I don't know how you want to call it, but the major universities, mainly in the United States, they put their courses like the Stanford did years before, the professional division of the Stanford University. They put it online for free, and they call it massive online open courses. And people said, oh, okay, the big universities are putting their materials online, and that's very good, so we will have good training, etc. But what they did was not creating real, that's why I call it a travesty, because they just put, most of them put the materials online, and they didn't worry about the pedagogics or the andragogy of the courses, the didactics. They just put the materials, and it was a big, how do I say, it was a big publicity for the open and distance learning. So I think that will help a lot. Now, there's another issue which the MOOCs are not. The MOOCs, most of them are not open education resources. And these open education resources are there for free. I mean, the page that it's behind, and I'm already a little bit late in terms of my presentation, so I don't think we should go there. But the open education resources are favored by UNESCO. UNESCO has a page about open education resources, and there are many sources of open education resources, even Coursera and edX and other providers of open and distance learning modules. They do it for free, although they are not open education resources because you cannot reuse them. They are just open, so they are not resources. So you have to take into account that most of the MOOCs, you cannot reuse them in your own courses. You can use them for free as they are, but you cannot change them. Now, the open education resources, the definition is that you can use them and adapt them or use them the way you want. And of course, this question of digital access is fundamental. But with the smartphones and evolution of the smartphones, everyone has a phone that can be a smartphone. And now I will handle for my colleague and friend Ahidoba, so she can start talking. She has been silent so far, and sorry for my time that I think I overspent. Ahidoba, the floor is yours.
No problem, Alfredo. We agreed that you come back at some point also to comment other slides. So it's a duet, as you said. So I will continue with the third challenge, which is about the learning design. As we speak about digital or e-learning, we definitely need to strengthen the learning design phase. We know now with several studies that have been made that online the attention, the engagement goes away very fast. You have experienced that with all the Zooms you have been through lately. After quite a short time, you get tired and your attention goes away. That means your motivation goes away. So definitely courses need now to have different structures and organizations. We need to rethink the teaching models in the design and the delivery phase. We have to scenarize, design the courses in order that there are sequences that go and take your attention back when you tend to go away with your mind. For that, I think we think it's very useful to create pedagogical guidelines to achieve this goal. And I want to mention here a few initiatives that go in this direction. The first one is a portal at University of Geneva for the teaching staff about distance and hybrid teaching and learning. And there we have put a lot of resources that some already existed and some are starting to be developed on the way to make sure we give the right tools, knowledge, information to go in this direction. All the links, this presentation will be available and the links, you will see them. So you will go have the opportunity to go and go around. It takes a bit too much time to go and open them all now. But I mentioned them, and then according to what keeps your attention, then you can go further. The second element I wanted to mention here is a recommendation that were developed at our Swiss National Association for Continuing Education, and it presents a system of learning with all the coherence of the system, with all the links. And while you go through this document, you will see again, because you know, of course, that, but you will be reminded of all the connection between the needs, the learning outcomes, the pedagogical modalities, the evaluation process, etc. And you will make sure everything is coherent together. And the third initiative here is pedagogical principles for continuing education that we have developed at University of Geneva quite some time ago, but that we go and update regularly, and that propose the basic lines of this design phase, actually, what you should think of to make sure the apprentissage goes to the right point. Alfredo, I think the next challenge is for you. We don't hear you, Alfredo.
Sorry, I have muted. Sorry. Okay, thank you. So this question of the co-creation, it's very important. I believe that we should cooperate since we are all involved in somehow producing and delivering lifelong learning. We should co-create. We have diverse producers and providers. I mentioned, for instance, Coursera, and they are a platform that sells and also gives courses, and they use it in a on the basis that they want information about the learners, not really to earn money with the courses. They treat the information, and this motivates people to share information. Data will be the biggest, one of the biggest resources in the world. And we can take advantage of that. We can use data from others and try to produce jointly our modules in lifelong learning. Of course, we have to work with the stakeholders. I'm an engineer, and I don't see producing courses for engineers in lifelong learning that don't involve the professional organizations or the engineering companies. It's useless because, or maybe useless because you need to know what are the needs in the context of those types of learners. So professional organizations for those professions that are regulated or somehow controlled need to be involved in this co-creation. Of course, society, I don't see also trying to produce courses online that are not something that the society is looking for. For instance, this information about the pandemics and how you should try. Those are courses that society would appreciate. It doesn't matter who they are in terms of representing the society, but there are topics and types of training that should be done. Here I had a platform also to show you. It's a very important platform from the European Commission that it's Open Education Up. It is a platform that we should use to work, to cooperate, because it's a platform that was devised some years ago. I remember being involved in the brain storm in Sevilla about this. It's a platform that it's away from the part of the European Commission. Oh, here you go, you can see it. It's a wonderful platform. I mean, and it has, like I said, some years ago, it was the way the European Commission wanted to share online materials. At those times, there were no needs for the pandemics, but it was a concern from the Joint Research Center in Sevilla to find a way to do it. And this was the proposal, and some years later, here it is. This platform in Sevilla, I don't know if you know, but it is something where they debate the future needs of Europe. And this was one that materialized, and I was at one of the brain storms that created this. So I'm very happy that this works, and also happy that it is a success because it has a lot of materials that you can use and you can share and co-create and have no other stakeholders. Next slide, please. Okay, so next topic about this question of the co-creation is the needs. I don't know if you were involved anytime in the marketing of lifelong learning or CPD, continuing professional development, but you only produced courses because they were expensive. If you knew what were the needs for the target groups, otherwise you wouldn't do it. And this has become, in this question of the online situation and the use of digital tools, has become even more relevant because, for instance, how do you deal with people that are old like me, don't have digital skills? They are a target group that you cannot target because they need digital skills. So for instance, that's a need that needs to be developed, how to help older people to use the digital tools. And I'll pass to Ahidoba, please.
So I'll pass to the fifth challenge, which is about training the teaching staff. We talked before about the design phase. Of course, you cannot do that quickly, and you cannot do that without competences. So I think we should make it clear that we need to go further with our competences in terms of teaching when we go online. And even if it's a hybrid, even if it's blended, the fact to go away at least partly from the classroom requires some different knowledges and competences. And in order to encourage teaching staff to do that, we should reward their effort to go in this direction. I think some of the teaching staff will, of course, do that just by interest, but some others will need some recognition. And of course, the adequacy of the training that we propose should be very accurate. We have to define what are the skills that are needed. We speak about digital skills, but what are they for the teaching staff, for the students? They are different, and we need to be sure about that, and then propose training that are adapted. So again, I want here just to mention some initiatives in this direction. The first one is the same portal I talked about before. It's at University of Geneva for distance and hybrid teaching. And it brings together different level of development of digital teaching. For example, you will be able to find there a phase, some information about very basics about Zoom tutorial, for example, just the basic to enter. Then there is another phase where you could go more into scenarize your course. And then a third level, which is very high level distance learning, where you could benefit from a personalized support to work on your course. So we have made this differentiation in order to have answers for all kinds of motivated or not motivated teaching staff. Another initiative that we want to do, we haven't done it yet, is to bring in the human resources file the information that staff have followed courses for this purpose. We want to encourage by taking notes in the human resources file that they have done it. And finally, we wish that we can develop a policy, a continuing education policy for the staff. And this is not only for teaching staff, but also technical, administrative, and teaching staff. If we go further with the sixth challenge, Alfredo will do it, and I'll end with the seventh challenge, and then we will conclude.
Okay, very good. For the suggestions that that we think that should be discussed and analyzed, let's say the provision of lifelong learning and the issues that should be addressed need the proper organization style. I mean, things are different. People are different. People that produce the online materials and support the online materials, they are, let's say, not the same as 20 years ago or 10 years ago in the continuing education centers. So we need to have a different organization. There are new actors. And when I say new actors, I mean you are having people that are not, for instance, interested professionally on the continuing education. They just need proper training on certain issues that are related with their daily life. So you have new actors, new publics. For instance, one of the functions that probably is needed with these online tools is the role of facilitator or tutor or mentor, because the participants need to be followed. It's very easy to quit on an online course because you just don't connect the computer, you don't have to face the teacher or anything. And you need to have somebody that helps the participants continue working, asking what happened, why didn't you attend the session, why didn't you make the homework or the quiz, etc. And these are newcomers, new actors, new professions probably. Another issue is that we have to look at the type of people we are facing. I belong to this third category, the gerontogogy oriented people that don't learn the same way as children or adults or young adults like the ones in the university. So we really have to find the right approach in terms of didactics and in terms of learning activities that are do fit the types of learning according to the age of the target groups. And one of the things that I consider very important is this question of the deconstruction of the face-to-face. Carrie Seppala made a comment about the workload of the students. You know what happened with the pandemic has hit everybody? Most of the professors were not prepared, and that is linked to what Ahidoba was talking in the Challenge 5. The question is that staff was not prepared to do this online teaching, and most of them, what they did was pick up the materials and put everything in the learning platforms, Moodle or whatever platform, Blackboard, whatever. And what happens is that students are overloaded with materials and overloaded with essays and homeworks and things like that, because the professors were not prepared to do this. And it is a very big injustice from my point of view for the students to have teachers that are not prepared to teach online because they are unlucky, because they are having teachers that suddenly they were forced to teach online and they are not prepared. That's the responsibility of the organizations, of the accreditation agencies, etc. It was an emergency, I know, but training is needed. Like Ahidoba mentioned, it's fundamental. And she's going to finish with the quality question. And I think it's fundamental that teachers are prepared. And we need to deconstruct the approaches from face-to-face. What works on face-to-face doesn't work online most of the times. So you need to forget everything and start all over again. And for instance, one of the things that has a very big future is simulation. I have here a video. I don't know, I've been talking too long, I'm sorry. But when you like what you're talking about, you get enthusiastic. But the simulation is probably the best perspective of the digital tools and the online teaching. There is even a medicine course completely online, created by a German university that uses that simulation to teach medical students. And the video I have here is to prevent accidents in industry. So, but I'll skip the video. You'll have the slides. You can check it. So, Ahidoba, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Alfredo. And we'll keep some time to answer the comments, because there are several comments that have been done during the presentation. The seventh challenge is about e-assessment methods. Of course, and this is the case in presential teaching and learning, of course, the kind of assessment needs to be adapted to the intended learning outcomes. This is not new, of course. For online teaching and learning, other issues come in addition. For example, all the student ID check, also all the question about the cheating and the fraud, the ownership of production, those are added elements that we have to take into consideration. We also need to have technology that is available and reliable. We have noticed in the spring that it was so important to ensure that so many connections could happen at the same time. That was never the case before. And we also needed to have technical support at any moment, as well as pedagogical support before the examinations in order to build the examination in the best possibilities. Two examples for that. We have produced guidelines for choosing the right method according to the learning outcomes. As I said, it's not so different as in presential, but some situation may differ and may be emphasized, or it may be an added value to change slightly the way to assess when we are online. And we have made those proposals in this document. And just this is a short info detail, but might be of use. A honor pledge that students need to sign before they take the exam online. This is what we have chosen until now, instead of the proctoring system that is really recording the people. We didn't choose to record the people, but for them to go more on a trust basis, and they had to sign a honor pledge. You can find it on this with this link. To conclude, I think we have seen that even before the pandemic, going digital for courses was something that was happening. Now it is an evidence. Okay, we're going online, we are online, but the best we can do is to do it consciously in order to ensure quality. We have definitely to be clear on the items, on the criteria of quality of an online course in order to go from emergency remote teaching mode into a real hybrid distance teaching and learning. We wanted to conclude to underline a few barriers. The policy priority that has been made till now on digitalization. Of course, it has changed a bit now with the sanitary crisis, but we need to reinforce this. We have to consider the low digital tools readiness and the low digital skills for students and for some teaching staff, and the fragmentation of initiatives, because we know a lot of initiatives have existed till now, nothing new, but they have been very fragmented, and we would benefit from learning from those experiences, from those initiatives, by sharing it. So we wish for a clear policy priority assigned to digital lifelong learning, an awareness rising about digital skills, and the integration of e-learning into quality assurance systems of institutions. On this last item, just a short info. We have done at University of Geneva an exercise of a self-evaluation, an internal exercise on at which level of quality development we are in terms of e-learning. And this is very useful to see on which aspects we need to focus our work now. So I don't go too much into the importance of integrating e-learning as a specificity into the accreditation, into the external quality assurance, but for sure in the internal quality assurance. We need to know where we're going. And with those words, I finish our presentation, and I welcome the comments of the participants today.
Thank you very much, Alfredo and Ahidoba. There were a number of interesting threads on the chat. One has to do with the workload for students and the need for students to develop their self-management skills. Any comments on that?
I may bring one part of answer on that, and Alfredo, you continue if you feel like it. But we have noticed that it's usually not that students don't know how to do it. It's rather that they take maybe a strategy that needs too much time to go to the objective. So it's very important to propose support to them on which strategy, learning strategy to choose in order to fulfill this or that activity.
Well, I just want to say one thing, is that, and I mentioned that some professors are not prepared to do this, and they just put everything on the platform. And but the point is that you have to follow the students. You have to communicate with them personally. You know, they are not numbers, they are persons. And in a room, you can treat students and learners as persons. On the web, it's very impersonal. So you have to foster more communication, more understanding of what happens, and that will probably alleviate what Kari has mentioned.
Thank you for this answer. We have another question, which is about the experience of the HyFlex model compared to full online courses. And the question is, what would you recommend?
Ahidoba, you are the quality person here, so go ahead.
Well, I for sure don't have the truth about this question, and I'm sure there is no truth about it. Of course, it also depends on, do we have choice or not? For now, we don't have choice, and everything has to be distanced. So in a quite normal situation where we would have choice, at least at University of Geneva, we would choose the hybrid, the blended option, because we want to bring the technology where it is an added value, not just because it's great to do that, but we want to encourage the teaching staff to define when presential is really important, when technology and distance can bring an added value. And this is not easy, but I think it's the main thing we have to tackle.
Ahidoba, I think that over here, when we speak about HyFlex, sometimes we refer to this sort of new format that we had after the lockdown for a few weeks, when we had part of the students face-to-face and part of them remotely attending the course. And then I think sometimes there was this question, should we just continue be fully online compared to this mix? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I understand now. We call it co-modal in French.
Yeah, that's a Quebec expression, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Well, I have no really good answer on that question.
Yeah. It's difficult, huh? The feedback I had from teachers and students as well was that it's difficult.
It's not ideal. I mean, yeah. It's a kind of a emergency solution, and of course it can be maybe looked with attention to make it more comfortable, but I would not choose that for sure as the most principal, but no real answer on that.
We still have a few minutes. Are there other questions?
Yeah, I would like to answer this question of the gerontagogy. Jenny Page has answered, and I personally know André Lemieux. He's from Canada. He lives at University of Montreal. He was the leader in creating this theory, but there are many European projects. If you go to the database of the European Commission on projects, you'll find many European projects. The first one that I've seen, it was one where ULLL was involved many years ago with the University of Ulm in Germany. And it was dedicated on how to teach older people like me to work online. And it started a series of other projects that you can consult and you can find. But André Lemieux was the founder of there's an association on gerontagogy. I don't have the web address here, but there's a world association that deals with gerontagogy. I'll find it and I'll put it in the slides so it is helpful for everyone. Let me tell you on a personal basis that André Lemieux is a good person to talk with and to work with. It was the person with whom I drank more bottles of wine in a lunch. So I never forget that. But it was so interesting, the conversation, that I didn't even notice. And we drank 3 bottles, the two of us, during the lunchtime.
It helps your learning.
Yes. Well, the mind was freer, I guess. So the speech was more fluent, I guess. Anyway, just a comment.
Thank you, Alfredo. Other questions?
There was a comment on the chat right now about is this quite a criticism against the high flex? Well, I don't want to call it like that, because it's what is happening or what has happened for a time and might occur again. I think we just have to be very accurate when we use it, because we can easily lose the people who are not in the class while being with the people who are in the class. And it takes a lot of effort and of tips and tricks to know how to keep them with the group and make sure they are motivated, engaged, and attend with their whole attention. So it's not a criticism against, it's just that we have to be careful when we use it, because it's not the panacea. No.
I think there is this big question about also giving the choice to student or not to do face-to-face. And I heard about experiences where suddenly a teacher find himself on his own in the classroom, because in the end, student favored the online model. So I think you're perfectly right what you say about being very careful about this. I have a question. This is a $1 million question I wanted to ask you. Ahidoba, you mentioned that the digitalization of lifelong learning is at times a low priority within academic institutions. I think it was on one of your slides. So what can we do about this? How to make sure it's in a higher position on the agenda?
Well, the option we thought was a good one. It might not be the best one, but it's one we thought about and that we used, is to make this internal self-evaluation of our e-learning being integrated in our quality system. And I think this was very useful, because it was the opportunity to show the lack of visibility of the positioning of the institution towards e-learning, and that is a criteria that we have to take into account. So it was one solution we chose to show it and to make sure it was taken into account. Now we will see if it works, but for now we have a an action plan that says we should integrate e-learning more explicitly in the institution strategy, in order that the staff can use it when they want to develop or when we need to encourage them to do so.
Thank you. We still have time, I think, for one or two questions, if there are any. That doesn't seem to be the case. I'd like to thank Alfredo and Ahidoba very much again for this great presentation. Alfredo and Ahidoba will be here tomorrow at 12 for, we called it a panel discussion, but in the end, I think it will be more than that. We will have all the presenters of the week. I think maybe Carme, you have a slide, I think, with the presenters that will be here tomorrow. So as this is week 4, but about, yeah, I think I saw it very briefly. Yeah. Okay. So tomorrow we'll have the pleasure to have Ingrid Leduc, who gave her presentation on Monday, Suzanne Dennett, Esther Martinez, Peter Van Balen, and Alfredo and Ahidoba. So please join us tomorrow at 12. I think that will be really a nice way to wrap up the week and to think about really what we're gonna do after this storm or this crisis. Thank you to all the participants. Thank you for all your comments and feedback in the chat. And I wish you a great afternoon and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And thank you to Carmen and her team for all the organization. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, it was nice to see all the colleagues. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.